these three guys on an island, and they looking at this piece of wood, trying to figure out what this piece of wood is. One guy says, before I was on this island, I used to be a lumberjack. And you know what this is? This is cherry wood. We never had cherry wood on our island before. And the natives start to smile. Wow, we have cherry wood. Sounds great. Another guy looks at the piece of wood and he says, this isn't just cherry wood. You could see there's some kind of furniture, some kind of carpentry. I used to be a carpenter before coming on this island. This is some kind of fine furniture. This is not just a piece of wood. The natives start laughing. Psst, we got furniture. And another guy looks at it and he says, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I used to be a mechanic before coming on this island. This is some kind of machine. There's wires in this thing. This is something more than just a piece of wood, more than just fine furniture. This is a machine. And while they're talking, another guy puts a tree stump next to the piece of wood, and he starts playing the most beautiful music. What was it?
Piano.
A piano. So who was lying over here? The carpenter, the lumberjack, the mechanic. Which one of them was lying?
All three of them.
All three of them were lying.
Yeah. Two, in each instance, two were lying, and one was telling the truth.
Yeah, I mean, you went into the mess queue over here, right? I'm a simple guy. On the surface, none of them are lying. On the surface, they're all saying the truth. They're all saying very valid reasons to celebrate this piece of wood. And although they came they're very valid reasons, they were so distant from the real value of the piece of wood. And that's because they all were unaware of the designer, why the designer made this piece of wood. They're all just answering things based upon their ignorant purview. But the designer knows. Similar way, Israel is a country that is always trying to define itself based upon the countries around it, based on the countries that supports it, based on the countries that criticize it. And Israel is always busy answering everyone else's questions. You guys are apartheid. You guys are thieves. You guys are Nazis. And so what does Israel do? Israel says, we're not apartheid, we're not Nazis, we'll prove it, we'll free 1,000 prisoners with blood on their hands. We'll give away land back to the Palestinians. Israel's always busy trying to explain why it's not apartheid. And the more Israel tries to answer the world's questions, the more the world asks more and more questions. And the more the questions go below the belt. And the less respect the world has for Israel. But instead of Israel answering the world's questions, Israel has to answer its own question. What's its own question? Israel has to stop defining itself by what the world is saying. Israel has to define itself by what its own truth is. And tonight, Israel did that. Instead of Israel asking America, hey, what do we need to do about Iran? Israel finally answered its own question. Its question was, we are sheep. There's 70 wolves around us. How are we going to survive? Israel asked its own question. Once Israel asked its own question, automatically it leaped forth. Rising Lion, that's the name of the new operation, right? Rising Lion, is that what it's called? Rising Lion. Okay. So, משהו בעברית, אפשר לתרגם באנגלית, אבל אף אחד לא יודע.
What's the definition?
Baruch Hashem. Well, he's quoting, it's from a verse of the Torah. The point is that Israel asked its own question. We're a sheep among 70 wolves. We have to make a move ourselves to protect ourselves. And it's amazing that Israel's always been trying to position itself and cozy itself with America and what America will say. And we have this president who's this much of a friend, this president who's that much of a friend, this president, this cabinet member. And what did America say when Israel stood up? Well, our primary interest, our primary goal is to protect American interests. And I don't want to say it sounds like backstabbing, but it doesn't sound like we're there with our allies. It doesn't sound like the narrative we've been hearing the whole time. I'm not saying that they don't mean something different. There's all political reason they say this, they say that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's something else. Is that Israel, Baruch Hashem, decided to ask its own question, and the truth is that it's something that It's a global thing. It's something historic, and it's something which brings the salvation of Hashem in a unique way, because this is something that we all have in ourselves, a similar thing that we have to learn from. You know what everyone in Israel is doing right now? Everyone in Israel is on lockdown. They're all together in their houses, and they're all thinking about who they are, and what they believe in, and what's going about the future. And that's why what we're doing also. These are brothers and sisters. So we, instead of answering the world's questions, defining ourselves based upon how much our weight loss is, depending on how much hair we have, depending on our finances, tonight's a night that Hashem is telling us it's time to look inside yourself and define yourself by who you really are, and not define yourself by what the world says. This little boy is in school, 2nd grade, and the teacher says, does your family pray? They go to synagogue? They don't go to synagogue. But every day my mom goes on the scale and she says, oh my gosh! So that's when she prays. Anyways, I heard a story today. There was one of the Rebbe's secretaries, his name was Rabbi Simpson. I had the privilege of meeting him. He's a very stately person, very aristocratic person. You know, one of those people who always enunciates whatever they're saying kind of people? Yeah. I know him already, he was in his 80s, I don't know how old, and this story took place not so much earlier. There was a Jew whose name was Harris. Harris was a driver for a member of the Rebbe's family, and Harris didn't have any relatives, didn't have too many friends, so Harris passed away, and he's on the 5th floor of a hospital, and Rabbi Simpson knew a member of the Chevra Kadisha, a member of a Jewish mortuary. His name was Rabbi Mordechai Mendelevich. Mordechai Mendelevich, before the Holocaust, was married with 7 children. Unfortunately, lost all of his 7 children and his wife in the Holocaust. And after he lost everyone and came to Borough Park, he joined this mortuary. And he called him and says, you got to come to the hospital. Harris passed away. He comes to the hospital, and Rabbi Simpson said, let's go into the room where the body is. And it's not like a policeman, but there's a guard by the door. Like, what are you guys doing? You know, we're going in. And the guard is like, you're going in? Like, why are you going? You're not supposed to go in. No, we need to go in. For some reason, he's like, okay. They go in. And Rabbi Simpson, in his 70s, I don't know exactly, he says, okay, you take the feet, I'll take the head. And they carried the body out of the hospital because they were concerned that the body, since he had no relatives, the coroner, the body would get cremated. So they actually kidnapped the body, and they brought the body down. It was on the 5th floor, and they brought the body down the 5 flights of stairs, these elderly people, and they brought the body to a mortuary around the corner from this hospital. And they, I don't know the end of the story about any court cases that went on or whatever. I just know that they realized the bowl was thrown to them. Rabbi Simpson realized that this is his mitzvah, and it didn't matter if it was impossible. This had to happen. You could not let this Jewish person be cremated. That's what happened. We see something like this in this week's Torah portion. Jewish people offer the Paschal lamb on Passover, and then what happens is that there are a few Jews who are unable to participate. They can't participate. Why can't they participate? They were different opinions. One opinion is that they were carrying the bones of Joseph, therefore they're ritually impure. Another opinion is that they buried the 2 sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu. A third opinion is that while they were traveling, they encountered a dead body, and therefore they had to bury him on the spot. And the rule is that if Meis Mitzvah, even the high priest in the Holy of Holies has to leave there and someone needs to be buried, it overrides all concerns. And because of this, it takes 7 days to become ritually pure again after becoming impure. The 7th day was the day before Passover. That means they were out. They couldn't do it. So they came to Moshe Rabbeinu and they said, Moshe Rabbeinu, why should we be left out? Why can't we have a chance? So think about that. Why couldn't they have a chance? They couldn't have a chance because they missed it. Was it their fault? It wasn't their fault. They have very valid reasons not to do it. They were absolutely justified in not celebrating the Passover. They weren't supposed to celebrate Passover. So what were they asking for? They weren't asking for anything normal. In fact, it was a bit of a ridiculous thing to ask. It's like someone comes to me, Rabbi, my uncle, all of a sudden studying yeshiva. In this yeshiva, in every yeshiva, they have someone who knocks on the doors at around 9 o'clock in the morning. He says, "Hey, it's time to say Shema." The morning Shema can only be said before a certain time. And the guy would come around the yeshiva, and I'm sure there are guys still come around the yeshiva. And when the boys have a late night, next morning, Shema is at 9:07. Shema is 9:07. One guy, if Shema is at 9:07, this guy would come around at 9:12. It's already too late. You could say Shema, you missed the mitzvah, you missed it. It's 9:12, time to get up. Because Shema was at 9:07, you guys missed it. What do you want? It's too late. It's unfortunate, but you missed the mitzvah. What's the point of them coming to Moshe? It's too late. You imagine, the sun is set, you missed the film. You missed it. You slept through the whole Shabbos. You missed it. The sacrifice was supposed to be brought that day. You missed it. What are they asking for? What are they asking for? Why are they even asking? They're asking because although they're exempt, although it's not their fault, they're not interested in what their obligation is. They're interested more about the connection to Hashem. That we missed this. We missed this mitzvah. We know it's not our fault. We know we're exempt. We're not going to get in trouble. But why should we be left out? Everybody else in the Jewish people had a chance to bring the sacrifice to Hashem. Why should we be left out? Well, let's take this to ourselves for a second. There are moments, right, that you're in a situation where you're absolutely stuck. There's no way out, and you give up, and you feel pain because you know you're not able to, and your soul wants, but you can't develop, you can't advance because you're stuck. It's the way it is. So Moshe Rabbeinu says that moment actually it seems the most disappointing moment. It seems the most disheartening moment. It seems your lowest point. But Moshe Rabbeinu says, actually, that moment is your most majestic moment. That moment has the most power, and it can carry you to the highest of heights. And that's what happened here. Moshe Rabbeinu told them, come and stand next to me. Why stand next to me? He said, come stand next to me. It's like the masters say, the Moshe Rabbeinu was telling them, I hear your cry, I hear your pain, I hear what you're asking. You guys, come next to me with what you're feeling right now. We're going to do something. With your pain now that you're upset about the situation, there's something in you that's going to make a change. That's something that is opening a door. Something else is happening. Something else is going to happen. And Moshe turns to Hashem and says, what happens now? They want to do this mitzvah. They can't. What happens now? And the first time ever, something happens that never happened before, and it opened the door. It redefined Judaism. Hashem said because they care about this mitzvah, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, there's a new mitzvah. Every other mitzvah was invented by God. This mitzvah was only invented when they came and said, we want another chance. It was invented by the Jewish people. We want another mitzvah. Hashem said, okay, you want another mitzvah? I'll give you another mitzvah. It came from within us. We said, what's happening? We can't be missing this mitzvah. We want another chance. And because they asked for it, because it came from within them, it did something that opened up a door of teshuvah. One second, my kids are home by themselves. Hold on a second. The Torah says that the new mitzvah Hashem gave, the new door, the new opening, the new definition of Judaism is, if someone is impure, if someone is far away, and they're not able to offer the Paschal lamb, Hashem says a month later, they'll have a chance. Now think about this, Elio. What's worse, being impure or being far away?
Far away from?
Far away is worse? It doesn't sound worse. Far away, it's not my fault. I'm in China. I'm in Nairobi. I'm in Madagascar. I couldn't come to Jerusalem because I was busy, in Madagascar. What do you want from me? If I'm impure means that's something wrong with me. It would seem that impure is worse. But you're right. Why is distant worse? What does distant mean? What does impure mean? The great legendary Hasidic mentor, Rabbi Shlomo Chaim Kesselman, he said the following, amazing. He said the word impure in Hebrew, tamei, also means closed. It means that you're insensitive. You're insensitive and you're making mistake after mistake. But although you're making all these mistakes, you still feel like this isn't the way it's supposed to be. You feel regret. I'm making mistakes and I'm making one mistake after another, but I shouldn't be doing this. That's impure. Impure means you're closed off, you're insensitive, you're keeping on making the same mistakes and more mistakes, but at least you know, I shouldn't be doing this. Distant means this. Rashi says, distant doesn't mean that you're far from Jerusalem and Nairobi. Distant means, Rashi says, that you're outside of the temple, You're by the entrance to the temple. You're watching all of the Jewish people offer their sacrifices, and you say to yourself, "This just isn't for me. This just isn't for me. I don't belong here. This isn't. I don't believe in this. I'm apathetic. I'm literally out the door. It could be so easy for me to just walk in there and be part of it, but no, it's not for me. It's not for me. And when you say it's not for you, so then you think, okay, what are you going to say to Moses now? You're going to say, why should I be left out? It was your fault. The guys who it wasn't their fault, and they're asking this crazy thing. Hey, give us another chance. Can you find a way to let us in? Okay, they are just meshuggah. But these people who were like, we were outside, and we had a choice, and we could have walked in, and we decided we don't want to walk in because we don't belong, because it doesn't mean anything to us. You think, okay, so at that point, realize it was your mistake. But their pain was so great that they shook off the embarrassment, and they went to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, Moshe, is there anything you can do for us? Even though they realized it didn't make any sense what they were saying. It was embarrassing what they were saying. We were so apathetic. We said this doesn't belong. We don't belong here, and we couldn't care less. And now they're saying, what are they saying? What are the words they're saying? Why should we be left out? What do you mean, why should we be left out? You said that you don't belong. There's a Jew named Alav Hashem, Dudi Ben Ami. Dudi Ben Ami. You heard of Dudi Ben Ami? Oh, you heard of him? He's a singer. You knew him? Yeah, he was a singer in Israel. He's from a place called Nahalel, not the most religious neighborhood. I'm mispronouncing it. How do you pronounce it? Nahalal, thank you. Nahalal, thank you. So he felt so disenfranchised with Judaism. Israelis, interesting people. He decided on Yom Kippur, he wants to celebrate Yom Kippur, but not the Jewish way, the Jewish people. So what did he do? He found a church. It's truth. It's a true story. What? He went in Israel. You're not allowed to have churches in every city in Israel, right? There's like the rules about it. So you have to find a church, and I guess in this city, in this distant place, it was okay to have churches. And there's rules. The government doesn't allow churches everywhere. Anyways, he goes to the church on Yom Kippur. You can imagine the guy walking to the church on Yom Kippur. You hear the Jewishness over here? He knocks on the door of the church. True story. The priest answers the door. Is, hi, can I help you? Hi, I want to learn more about Christianity. Can you please teach me about Christianity? I want to, maybe convert. Chas v'shalom. So the priest is like, what's your name? Dudi. The priest is like, it's Yom Kippur, and you're Jewish. Go to shul. Go to shul. So I don't know if the priest had a sense of humor, what the priest was thinking. But whatever the priest was thinking was in the priest's world. In Dudi's world, this was like an arrow into his heart. This was like, I should be going to. I'm a Jew. Like, what was I thinking? Why don't I belong here? And that's the distance. The Jerusalem Talmud says it's not that the road is distant. The person is distant. He is apathetic. And not just he's insensitive. He's, I don't belong. Just is not for me. And yet what happens is that even this person, the Torah says it's never too late. And you could come back. And now you could come back, but specifically that moment where it's impossible to come back, that brings us something deeper. Rabbi, huh?
Rabbi also said, even if you become Christian, you're still a Jew.
Right. There was Rabbi David Shachat, Alav Hashem, the rabbi of the Jewish community in Toronto, Alav Hashem. He was very gifted, a speaker, an author. I don't know all the details of the story. The story is told many different versions. This is the way I heard the story. He would travel around to speak. He translated the Tanya. Parts of the Tanya he translated. He was a very, very, very brilliant person. He was invited to speak in Buffalo for a group of college students. And he knew that the college students he was going to speak before, most of them weren't Jewish. And he was thinking, like, is this like his thing? As a rabbi, is he supposed to travel to Buffalo to speak? Like, he is this gifted author and everything, but is that his mission? So he calls up the Rebbe's office, is this something I should do? And the Rebbe Secretary, Rebbe Chadakov, says to him, is something you should do? You should speak about charity, speak about kindness. So, okay, and the Rebbe Secretary says, by the way, I think a good thing to tell them would be to tell them the story about Yisrael Goy. What's the story of Yisrael Goy? He goes to the college, he tells them the following story, the famous story of Yisrael Goy. What's the story of Yisrael Goy? In Krakow, the rabbi of Krakow Rabbi Lipton Heller, who's a commentary on the Mishnah in every book of Mishnah, huh? Tosos Yom Tov, right? So he was a rabbi of Krakow, and in the Krakow there was this guy named Yisrael. Yisrael was a very wealthy man, a very miserly man, and he was so miserly that when he passed away, he wrote in his will that none of his estate should be taken away from his family and used for his burial. So the grave diggers, at least they should get paid for their job, right? No, they're not going to get paid. I don't want anything of my estate used, but you can't leave a Jew without being buried. So the grave diggers have to bury him and not get paid. So what are they going to do for this guy? They were upset. So they buried him at the very edge of the cemetery. This guy he's the most wealthy man in the whole shtetl, in the whole Krakow. And he's the one he's going to put in his will that they can't get paid. Like, what? Ridiculous. So they put him at the end of the cemetery, and they made a little tombstone for him. Tombstone said, Yisrael Goy, the Jew Goy. He's a Jew, he's a Gentile. So another version of the story is they wrote, his name was not Yisrael, his name was just Yossel the Compton, Yossel the Miser. They wrote Yossel the Miser. Yossel the Miser. You're Yossel the Miser. So what happened was, right after he passes away, the next Friday, the Tosos Yom Tov Lippen Heller gets a call from many, many people coming to his house. We need food for Shabbos. We need fish for Shabbos. We need challah for Shabbos. Why all of a sudden everyone needs so much food? Because this guy, this miser, was hiding his charity, hiding his kindness. And he was supporting everyone in town. Everyone in town was relying on him. And when he passed away, there's nobody. So Rabbi Lipman Heller realized that this guy wasn't such a miser, and they disgraced this hidden side. Who even in his passing, didn't want anyone to know about his kindness. So he said they should add one word to his tombstone. Yisrael Goy Kadosh. The Jewish people are a holy nation. A holy nation. Yisrael Goy Kadosh. The Jewish people, the holy nation. Or another version, Yossel the holy miser.
Yisrael Goy Kadosh?
Yisrael Goy Kadosh. So, but to make sure that people knew this was real, and Rabbi Heller asked that he be buried in it's not considered the prestigious spot in the cemetery, the outskirts of the cemetery. I want to be buried in the outskirts of the cemetery too. So he was buried, and he is buried. There is a monument there. It's illegible now, but there is a monument next to Rabbi Heller's tomb, and they say that's the tombstone. You could see it. You could go there. You could see in Krakow next to Rabbi Heller's a tombstone, and the Yisrael Goy Kadosh. So that's a story Rabbi Shachat shared. He finishes his lecture, questions, answers, and this guy comes over to him, clearly a priest, and he says to him, "Can you tell me that story again?" Rabbi Shachat is thinking like maybe I spoke, it wasn't so clear. Wants to hear it again. So, yeah, okay, no problem. But now come to my hotel. He goes to back to his hotel room, and then sure enough the priest comes and knocks on the door, and can you tell me the story again? Yeah, sure. He tells him the story again, and he tells him the story the second time, and he finishes. This young priest says to him, "Can you tell me again?" And he's like, "It's a guy. This is already weird. This is already weird." So, make a long story short, he asks this priest, "What's about you in the story?" So this boy said that his father was a soldier during World War II, and he had gone to Europe and he had met his Jewish mother, and they had not told him at all about his Jewishness until his mother passed away. Before she passed away, she told him that she's of Jewish descent, and she told him there's a story in our family about our great grandfather. Our great grandfather was this guy Yisrael Goy Kadosh. So the priest said, when my mother told me the story, I thought she was fantasizing, just saying a crazy, Meshuggah story. It's not real. But now you're telling the story; it's a real story, and you know the story, the details, and the tombstone is still there. It's amazing, and it's a real thing. Okay, that's the story. Years later, Rabbi Shachat is by the Western Wall, and this guy says, "Hi, Rabbi Shachat, do you recognize me?" A guy, a Breslov chassid, the payas, and he says, "You recognize me?" He said, "Maybe you recognize me. He knew me in a different incarnation." So he was this priest. This priest had become he had researched who he was, and it's not someone else's story. It's our story. This is Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni, it's a very unique thing.
His name is Leo.
Okay, Leo, Yisrael. I think his name is Baruch. His name is Moshe. So it's our story. This is our story.
Oh, sorry.
Our story is a point here. There's an interesting passage in the Talmud we all read this week in the Chitas. Rashi says you might think if someone converts to Judaism, they have to right away bring a paschal lamb, a paschal sacrifice. What's the connection? Right away you become Jewish, bring a paschal lamb. Why? What? We find a lot of connection, a lot of things in common between this mitzvah of circumcision, which a convert has to do, and the paschal lamb. One thing they have in common is that those are the only two positive commandments. If you don't do them, there is a kares. When we were in Egypt, it was these two mitzvahs God gave us, the paschal lamb and the circumcision. In their merit, we have to leave Egypt. What they have in common is this.
They're connected to Met Mitzvah, actually.
How?
The example in Masechet Pesachim is if a person goes to circumcision or goes to bring the Pesach lamb and has a Met Mitzvah, he should do the Met Mitzvah even though he's Mitame, and he won't be able to. So that is the paradigm of also Mitzvah, Patul Mitzvah.
Very good. So why are they connected to becoming Jewish? Because being Jewish means you could jump. Being Jewish means that you could jump. Being Jewish means that you could look into yourself and believe in yourself and say, I'm not defining myself by who I was yesterday. I'm not going to believe in my shortcomings as who I am. I believe that I have inside myself a part of Hashem, and there is no limitation to where I can be and where I should be. That's the meaning of leaving Egypt. That's a meaning of the circumcision. Circumcision is also a connection to Hashem beyond logic and reason. So this is the bottom line. The bottom line is, my great-grandfather used to say this, is a mother chicken sits on her chicks on the eggs. Sometimes you see the eggs, and they don't develop into a baby. They die inside the shell. What happens? How come some chicks make it and some chicks don't? You know why? Because some of the chicks inside the egg, said my Rabbi Ramayar, some of them are waiting for someone else to bring them out. They're waiting for someone else. Mommy, take you sat on me, you warmed me. Now take me out of the egg. Take me out of the shell. But you can't have any way out of the shell until you pull yourself out of the shell. There's no way out of the shell unless you take yourself out of the shell. That's what Pesach Sheni is. Pesach Sheni is to believe in yourself, believe in who you are, believe that it doesn't matter what happened to you yesterday, and that you are chosen by Hashem. And just like Israel, for decades, is having this thing with like we are subservient to all nations of the world, and today all of a sudden they woke up, no, we could do it. I don't know what the going on is behind, and the drama and the politics and the danger. Bottom line is, they woke up today. They said, no, we're Jewish, I'm going with Hashem, and it doesn't matter whether the whole world's with us or not with us. We're going. Same as each of us. We're in time of Mashiach now. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. Believe in who we are, believe in our mission, and believe that in how special each of us is, in this role we have now at the end of the exile. And we gotta show up, and we gotta add something more than we did yesterday. L'chaim, l'chaim, v'rachim.